Good morning, everybody. You're very welcome to today's member interview. We're joined by Clement Herron. Clement is the owner and founder of Clement Herron Real Estate Agents based in Portlaoise, and he'd be well known to many of you. So, Clement, would you like to give us a bit of background for people that aren't familiar with yourself and your business?
Yeah, my name's Clement. I own Clement Herron Real Estate. I've been in the real estate space in Portlaoise since 2005. I come from a farming background. I'm a qualified farm manager, and I'm an accidental real estate agent. I was managing farms. I was involved in the pig industry for about 18 years. We got financially roasted in that in about 1998. I worked back in the buildings for a year, and then I worked internationally selling weighing systems and data systems into the food industry because I had a good bit of background in agriculture and kill line systems in meat factories and pig factories and data capture systems and traceability. Something I worked on that for about 5 years, and then I was sidelined for a year. Really, I had personal reasons to stand back for a year, and my wife wasn't well, so I didn't work for a year, and it was a very, very profitable year. I got into property development. I bought land and developed it in Rathdowney, and I had planning permission of stripping the site to build houses in Rathdowney, and all these auctioneers were ringing me to tell me the wonderful job they were going to do selling houses for me, and they were wanting me to give them money to put their name and lights over my land, and then they were going to charge me money for selling houses. I thought they were joking. So I thought, this sounds like a much easier route with a lot less exposure and a lot less capital outlay than building the houses. So I stepped back from that, and I joined Remax in 2005. There was over 400 real estate agents in the Remax group that time, 2005, 6 and 7, and very quickly realized that I was in the top 10 out of 400 every year, and I found it quite easy compared to selling pigs to pig farmers, and where I was in the genetic transfer as well. So it was a tough gig. I thought it was easier, and it isn't a lot easier, but there's certainly a lot more variety to the work, and I enjoy it. And we've built a very successful business. We employ 6 people, and we have a good share of the market in Laois, and I work as far up as Drogheda and down as far as South Tipperary. I have work going on at the minute in Burr, Bars and Ossory, all around Laois, and I have some jobs going on the west side of Dublin as well. So we'll cover a big area.
Plenty going on by the sounds of it. So would you like to tell us about your COVID experience with your business over the last couple of months?
Over the past few months, I remember, I suppose we all remember sitting looking at the TV on a Friday night when the overarcher said, "That's it, shut down." So I literally got up that night, went to the office, picked up all my files, and brought them home. That lasted till about lunchtime on Monday, and the phone was, so I literally had to go back because finding NPRN numbers, finding anything was a little bit difficult. But over the first few days, I managed to get Dave Devery and the lads that be involved with look after our software solutions. We had already gone into the cloud, and we just hadn't pressed the button, and we got all the preparatory work done. So they gave us another day in the office, and they literally all our banking, all our CRM, all our server, everything went into the cloud, and we meant that it wasn't a scramble looking around. So Reach, who runs the office, could access everything from home and could access the bank from home. And I physically came into the office on a daily basis to put out fires and deal with problems and deal with any issues with management properties, because we look after owner management companies and we look after residential properties as well, where there's daily issues that have to be sorted out, and we had to decipher what was an emergency and what wasn't, and what we could go and do and what could wait until the emergency passed. And we helped out HSE workers, we started accommodation, we did a lot of acquisitions for the Department of Justice, and we had a lot of work to do that we couldn't really do from home. Well, the ladies could do all the support from home, but I had physically to be in the office, and we had to keep going. So we kept busy. Sales fell off a cliff. Rentals and new rentals practically fell off a cliff, but problems and ongoing issues had to be sorted out on a daily basis to make sure that we didn't come back to a backlog of issues that had to be sorted out. And I'm talking just about physical things going wrong and breaking down in houses. And just to coordinate that, I was glad to be coming in on a daily basis to do that.
Yeah, and you were able to avail of the temporary wage subsidy scheme for a period of time for your staff?
Yeah, for say 3 that I kept on along with myself. I didn't claim anything, but for 3 of the staff that I kept on, I got the subsidy scheme for those 3 employees, and then there was 2 that went on to the COVID support money, and they did do their own thing, and they're not back to full-time work yet.
Yeah, great. So those supports have been like a lifesaver for a lot of businesses.
They are, and they've kept us going, and it meant it helped cash flow, and it kept things during April and May in particular. It was very hard to get closings, and solicitors were out, and BER guys couldn't do the BER search, and a lot of work had just stopped, and we couldn't kickstart it. And May was probably the worst month for closings that I've had in about, I'd say, 10 years, and June's been very, very good.
Right. So that's hopefully that trend will continue moving forward into the next few months.
I suppose we've got a wee bit of a backlog in June as well. We cleared up a good bit of that, and there was a lot of that in June, I suppose, is one thing, but how the trend is going forward, there's good demand out there. If people can continue to get money, that's probably the single biggest obstacle is availability of finance and mortgages from the banks, and how that's going to work. The banks probably need to rethink now the policy here before, although they won't really readily admit to it, was that the inside the pale was viewed favourably by the banks, no matter what the applicant was like. If the property was inside the pale, they had a red line, they had a map, and they were more inclined to lend money inside the pale than they were outside the pale. We're outside the pale, so it was always going to be a little bit more difficult for our potential purchasers to get their hands on money. So that's maybe something that has to be rethought, given what's happened and given the demand now for people that want to work remotely. And we also have quite a bit of experience of people surrendering apartments in town and saying for the same money we can actually have a 4-bedroom semi-detached with a front yard and a back garden, and availability of clubs, schools, motorway infrastructure, rail infrastructure, and have a life, not just a commute. A lot of the towns, a lot of the villages between here and the city centre offer very little apart from a railway line and a motorway to town, whereas Portlaoise offers a hell of a lot more, and we've been inundated with purchasers for 4 beds. It's just unbelievable. I can't get my hands on enough 4 beds and 3s. I'm struggling, if I'm honest, with 3 beds in new stock, but I'm not on 4s as quick as they can build them. I can sell them.
Earlier on, you contributed that requirement for 4-bed for people planning to work remotely, so they need that extra office space and extra bedroom to use to work.
Yeah, and they're looking at their lifestyle, and this lockdown has forced a lot of people to look at their lifestyle. Yeah. I have, for example, done a deal in Pluckerstown, Naas, a house that's out in the middle of the countryside that you absolutely would not in your wildest dreams have matched the couple up with that are gone into it. And they're saying the quality of life that they have since they moved there is unreal. They were living in an apartment, there were smokers down below them. It didn't bother them when they were running every day and they were meeting each other in the door, but then they had to live in it, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they were restricted in where they could go. These smokers on the apartment balcony below them soon became an irritant, and meeting everybody in the hallways, and they realised that this is not a good life, and there's so much more to offer when you come out into the commuter belt or come out into the countryside or come into lower density developments and good Wi-Fi connections, good transport if needed. So this daily commute, we have to look long and hard at it. I come every day, as you do yourself, Bernie, would say, come in the opposite direction. I come from Plain every morning. That's where I live, and I'm looking at people, looking at the steering wheel for an hour and a half every day. It's 3 hours, 2-3 hours that of a day that you don't need to spend in the car. So
it certainly takes its toll on a person. And the other great piece for Laois, I suppose, are the options for the remote working hubs. So I'm sure that's a great selling point as well. If people still want to work remotely, but not necessarily in their house, they have that option as well, which is great.
They're a great option, and they're an affordable option, and it makes sense. And it also, I completely understand if you have young family and young kids, and they're going to play with their toys until your phone rings.
Yeah, exactly.
Then they're going to need attention when you can't really give it. So it can be very difficult. And the remote working hubs in Montgrass and Portlaoise and Montmanic, they're excellent. They're very well serviced. They're excellent value for money. They're well run, and they're super incentive for people to actually, they can come and get their job done and go home. Now we have a good bit of experience in bringing industry and business from the city to Laois, and it's been probably, we've been excited about it. A few companies that we've moved already, but the results that we've got or that they've got by moving, and I'm talking about big company employing over 50 or 60 people, have relocated to a remote enough part of Laois, but they have motorway access. They have a very good skilled network of people, and they're in construction, and the guys that they're getting here are good quality. And plus that guy, he's not commuting for a few hours, and he can do his few jobs in the morning and go to work in County Laois. He's going to deliver a better quality day's work for that employer. So that particular company that I'm thinking about is doing export business, and they got a contract for 40 million nearly straight off the back of their relocation, and their ability to scale up. There's a scalability attached, and there's a ready available workforce, which is a huge advantage. And I've been screaming it for about 15 years, even when we were doing the National Enterprise Park here in Portlaoise 15 years ago. But when we went to town, we would say we moved one company. Now I'm looking at quite a large firm that are moving into Portlaoise, that may have a little bit of interaction with the main office in Dublin, but their office will be in Portlaoise, and we're looking at 10 or 12 people practically straight away.
That's great.
So
hopefully, I mean, I know since the chamber started up, we've been, trying to get the message out that, to make Laois the centre of Ireland for business. And I think that message is getting out there, and COVID possibly has helped speeding up that message to get out there, to live and to work and to have a really good lifestyle. It's definitely on the radar big time now over the last 12 months.
Yeah, it is, and we say working remotely and the COVID, we say maybe brought home a few things, but also I'm in negotiation with another big firm that has a huge amount of storage facilities, but they're operating out of Dublin on a dear cost base per square foot, and I'm offering them logistically superior location. And I said, well, okay, you want to tap the Limerick market, you want to tap the Cork market, and you can do that from here. And and I'm going to give you a cost base per square foot. This can be very, very competitive, and you're still an hour from the ports and the airports. We have a huge advantage in that regard. So they're looking at saying, no, we thought we'd get cheap. We're not cheap in the countryside, but we can do heavy industrial buildings. We can do storage, probably better and more competitively than anywhere else in Ireland. You know, it is a huge advantage. You're very, very close logistically, and that's probably the main reason that I ended up in Portlaoise. I worked in the pig industry, and I was doing genetic transfers, and that meant I was selling fresh semen to the pig industry all over Ireland. From Portlaoise, I could hit any corner of Ireland the next morning. 11 o'clock the next morning, people would say, "How are you doing it?" But logistically, I had it sorted from Portlaoise. I wouldn't have been able to do it from anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, you know, you've plenty on the go, and hopefully opportunities coming down the track that will benefit Portlaoise, you know, particularly in your in the commercial side of things. So it's
commercial's been busy. So we're dealing with a few decent sized firms, you know, that are relocating and getting on with business in Portlaoise and in the surrounding areas. So that's going to be a huge success. And what I'm finding, would say, and even maybe from one of the first conversations I had with Martin Crowley, or the president, is that if we bring the business, the houses will follow. And I was aiming at, you know, getting commuter homes and aiming it at the commuter. If we bring the business, the houses will follow. Most of the purchasers of new homes, I'm selling a lot of new homes in Ardbrannock on the Dublin side of Portlaoise, they're pretty nice high-end houses. But most of my purchasers have looked at commuting, and a good few of them now are going to be working from home, and it suits them to do that, and they can get into a good lifestyle and a really good house for very competitive.
Yeah, that's great. Listen, Clem, thanks very much for sharing all those insights, and it's great to hear, you know, the positive things that are coming down the track in Portlaoise and Laois in general. So we all have to just stick together and make sure, hopefully, as many businesses survive these very challenging times over the months and year, you know, 12 to 18 months ahead. It's, as you say, the crystal ball. No one has one at the moment. Every day it's a changing.
It's moving, and we have to work with what we can control. We can control the cost of the houses we can build. We can't control the price we can get for them. The builder can't build them for much less than we're selling at the minute. There's costs there. We can control, you know, how we work and how we go to work and how we protect our staff and ourselves on a daily basis. And those are the things that are within our control. But outside our control is a second wave, but we just all have to do our part to make sure that doesn't affect us. And I think we've had great leadership locally, and we have a good leadership nationally, and hopefully, you know, everybody does their piece and keeps us as a centre to do business and to live and work. And that's all anybody wants to do, really, is have a decent lifestyle.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Clement. I'm looking forward to meeting you soon at some event or other in the next number of months.
Okay, super. Thanks very much, Bernie.
Thank you.
Talk soon. Thanks. Bye.